In the heart of North Dakota, amidst the rolling prairies and the whispering winds, lies an event that captures the imagination and spirit of thousands. A celebration of not just entertainment, cuisine, and craftsmanship, but a deep-rooted homage to Scandinavian heritage that stretches far across the ocean and deep into the past. To uncover its origins, we must journey back over 2 centuries to a time when the waves of the North Sea were carved by the passage of a little ship named the Restoration. This was not just any voyage. It marked the beginning of a massive migration, a daring adventure across the Atlantic that would sow the seeds of Scandinavian culture in the fertile soils of the New World. This is the story of migration, heritage, celebration, growth, and community impact. This is the story of the Norsk Hostfest.
The immigration started 200 years ago from the city of Stavanger in Norway. It was a very small ship called the Restoration, as you say, that were 52 immigrants aboard. That was the first organized immigration to the US. 52 people, and they crossed the Atlantic. And on their way, they had bad weather, and they also had bad navigation. So they ended up in New York 3 months later. It took them 3 months in that small ship to get to New York.
Life back in Norway had grown dim, its future clouded by limited opportunity and rigid societal structures.
The future in Norway was bleak. Only 5% of the land area in Norway is cultivated. The rest is all mountains and valleys and things.
In the heart of Scandinavia, a quest for religious freedom became the beacon that led many to contemplate a journey of thousands of miles.
It was religiously based. They were Quakers, and they would have the opportunity to practice their own religion, which was very difficult to do in Norway in those days.
But religion wasn't the only driving force behind their journey. In 1862, the United States enacted the Homestead Act.
What drove them was the Homestead Act, where they got free land. 160 acres of land was given them by the government because the American government wanted them to come, because they wanted them to cultivate all that land.
This law promised land to anyone willing to farm and improve it, igniting a flame of opportunity for Scandinavians who found their homeland soil too rocky and social structure inflexible. For second sons who stood to gain little from their birthright, America promised a chance to forge their own destiny.
If you had a farm, the oldest son took over. And then the other one, to get a living, they would go to America and farm there. The farms back home, they were quite small, and when the parents got more and more children, they were living longer than the children that they did before. They couldn't support them. They didn't have food for them. The children had to leave their families and go to the United States when they grew up.
While the promise of religious freedom and fertile lands drew many to America's shores, there existed a more personal narrative for some. Among these were the second sons of Scandinavia, heirs to nothing but their own ambition. In a land where inheritance meant everything, they were left with little. It was this quest for hope that shipped so many second sons across the ocean to places like North Dakota. Here they couldn't just find land. There was a chance to build something of their own.
All those people that found their way to America and stayed there had a great impact on the American society. They're hardworking, they got into offices, into politics. So the Norwegian Scandinavian culture made a great impact on the American society.
As we reflect on the journey of those who left the rugged landscapes of Scandinavia for the promises of America, we see not just the story of survival, but of thriving. The descendants of those early settlers carried with them a legacy of hard work, and a spirit of community that transcended boundaries, contributing immeasurably to American society. They were an integral part of the fabric that holds this nation together. Stay tuned as we explore the foundation of the festival, touching on its origins from the sesquicentennial celebration and the beginnings of the vibrant Norsk Hostfest. History of the Norwegian migration to America reports that by 1920, over 700,000 Norwegians fled to America. Fast forward to the 70s, when the bishop of the American Lutheran Church reached out to 16 cities in America that had the largest Norwegian Lutheran populations, inviting them to plan a 150-year anniversary of the Restoration's historic journey. The milestone celebration, called the Sesquicentennial Celebration, would serve as a poignant reminder of the enduring bonds between the two nations, forged by the courage and determination of those early Norwegian immigrants. Reverend Wade Davik of First Lutheran Church in Minot brought 4 American Lutheran Church congregations together to plan a celebration in 1975. First Lutheran, Christ Lutheran, Bethany Lutheran, and Zion Lutheran. A 2-day festival called the Fall Festival stressed the culture and heritage of their Norwegian ancestors and kept hundreds of volunteers busy with plans for exhibits, demonstrations of Norwegian cultural arts, drafts, handiwork, and wood carving. And, of course, there was plenty of Norwegian foods, including lefse, sweet soup, rummegrot, pastries, and coffee.
I know a little bit about my grandpa's history with the Hostfest. He was the Lutheran pastor here at First Lutheran Church for, I want to say 13 years maybe. And he has always had his Norwegian background and heritage as something that was really important to him. He traveled to Norway quite a bit. He just really wanted to know where he came from, and that was very important to him. And so I know it became important to continue on with some of those traditions and to teach future generations about where we came from and about our heritage.
After the celebration, folks approached the sesquicentennial planners saying, "This was great, we should do it again." And another festival was planned for the following year. Chester Wrighton was amongst those planners. Chester's profound ambition and deep Scandinavian roots, as well as his passion for community, led to the creation of something far greater than a festival. It sparked a movement. The first annual Norsk Hostfest, also advertised as the Norwegian American Fall Festival, was planned for October 27th and 28th, 1978. Chester was a man of vision. Those who knew him best share insights into a man whose optimism and community spirit were boundless.
The thing that Chester and Al Savari and the Tollefsons and they were visionaries. So they could see a bigger picture. And I don't think a lot of us expected what we got. It would be this magnificent.
All of the Lutheran pastors in Minot and pastors from other denominations too, they always did a lot of collaborating. And I know that the Lutheran pastors specifically wanted to preserve the Norwegian heritage and keep it going into future generations.
Heritage, which was Chester Wrighton's favorite word, and he would repeat over and over again that he had been criticized for the folly of things that he believed in and supported. And he said the answer in every case was to preserve heritage.
Chester's vision began with the realization of his own rich Scandinavian heritage. It was more than just an appreciation. It was a calling to breathe life into this legacy for others, to weave the vibrant threads of Nordic culture into the fabric of Minot. Chester understood the power of heritage, making it his mission to share this with the world. As we sit on the vast prairie, It's easy to feel the solitude of the open land, but Chester saw this as an opportunity, a stage for something spectacular. He brought excitement, a sense of belonging and joy to those waiting for a reason to celebrate, to connect, and to remember.
When you're sitting out in the prairie by yourself, you're waiting for something to come on to bring excitement. And believe me, Chester brought it.
Stay tuned as we transition from the festival's foundation to its remarkable growth. We'll explore how the Norsk Hostfest expanded and evolved into a cultural phenomenon. With the foundation laid, the stage was set for a cultural phenomenon that would encapsulate the essence of Scandinavian heritage in the heart of North Dakota. What began as the sesquicentennial soon blossomed into something far greater, taking on a new life as the Norsk Hostfest. This wasn't just any festival. It was a beacon for those seeking to connect with their roots, to celebrate the rich tapestry of Nordic culture amidst the American landscape. As the festival found its footing, a pivotal moment came with the arrival of an accordion maestro, a celebrity whose fame rivaled that of rock and roll legends.
Big vision when it began was to sell more Krumkak and Lefse the next year than the previous year. They decided that they needed to spice it up. You know, this is all right, but let's bring in a little bit more entertainment. So he heard of a celebrity that would probably be willing to make a guest appearance for a few $1,000s. The celebrity was Myron Florin. It was just like Elvis came to town. I mean, they just packed him in. This was Myron Florin of the Lawrence Welk Show. And as a result, you know, it just exploded. From then on, it became an entertainment.
When Myron Florin was mentioned, everybody would drop their shovel or pitchfork and go to the Hostfest.
Both of my grandparents, my grandfather was 100% German, my grandmother 100% Norwegian. They loved going to see Myron Florin on stage playing accordion. And I actually got 2 different opportunities throughout the years to perform with him. One was as a dancer with the Norwegian Sweater crew, and then also in the Western Plains Children's Choir.
And I don't know how many years Myron Florin came here, but then it expanded from there. And if you get the right person, the right place, at the right time, and that certainly was the key for entertainment. And then people could hardly, I wonder who's coming next year.
Myron Florin was the catalyst for an entertainment boom at Hostfest, setting the stage for an era of unparalleled music and cultural showcases. Over the last 4 decades, the festival has seen a parade of world-class entertainment, drawing icons such as Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Jeff Dunham, the Oak Ridge Boys, Jay Leno, Big and Rich Chicago, Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias, even the Beach Boys, showcasing a rich diversity of entertainment that spans genres and generations. But the magic didn't stop there. The festival became a canvas for creativity and imagination, but not without a small army of festival volunteers. Their unwavering support and hard work were instrumental in allowing the festival to grow.
Chester, my father, had all these advisors, but one of the things was Pam Davy became kind of the day-to-day person, and she was well organized and everything like that. And with her organization, she was very helpful in helping my father and these other people expand.
We entrusted these volunteers with our lives, basically. Well, you know, from the beginning, we were so volunteer-oriented, and people wanted to be part of it. And the volunteers are really the lifeblood of the Hostfest.
I really appreciate the volunteers. Every time I walk by somebody, or I will thank them for their work, because without them, we wouldn't have a Hostfest.
The festival's spirit soared on the wings of its volunteers, whose dedication became the foundation for creativity and imagination to blossom. Pam Davey, already known to us for her invaluable contributions, played a pivotal role in the creative surge, paving the way for unforgettable performances such as Rolf Stang's personification of Hans Christian Andersen.
When I was in New York City, I didn't know Rolf then, hadn't met him yet, but I'd picked up a copy of the Norwegian American magazine, and I read about him. And I read those Scandinavian publications. There weren't that many of them, from cover to cover. And, I called everybody I could. So I just called him, and I kind of remember the first conversation with him. What was interesting about him is that he was intrigued from the get.
Pam Davey called me up in 1993 because I had done a one-man show about Edvard Grieg. I get this phone call, and it says, "Hello, who is this? Rolf Stang?" "Yes, it is." "Well, my name is Pam Davey, and I am associated with Norsk Hostfest. Have you ever heard of it?" I said, "I've heard of it for years, but I'm slightly Buddhist. I don't ask to go anywhere. I wait until they come and ask me." And she says, "Well, I'm not a Buddhist, but I'm here as a Buddhist messenger, and I want you to come to Hostfest." And I thought, oh, I'm talking to a certain kind of person. And only 2 years after I started here in Minot, somebody called me up and said, "Hey, I hear you're telling Hans Christian Andersen stories out in the Midwest." And I said, "Yeah, at a place called Norsk Hostfest." The next thing you know, I'm telling stories at the Hans Christian Andersen statue in Central Park. I wouldn't be sitting here with this hat and with this cloak unless Hostfest asked me to come to be a storyteller.
Through his performances, the fairy tales and stories that many grew up with were no longer confined to the pages of a book, but danced alive before their eyes at the Hostfest. The excitement surrounding the festival was palpable. This landmark event that takes place in 5 immense halls named after the Scandinavian capitals, Oslo, Copenhagen, Reykjavik, Stockholm, and Helsinki Hall, draws participants from across the globe. Today, women and men from the original 4 Lutheran churches continue to provide Scandinavian foods, and Norwegian chefs arrive to prepare authentic lutefisk, meatballs, and fish soups. Enthusiastic attendees return year after year to meet friends, dance polkas, listen to Norwegian choirs, watch rosemahlers, spinners, and weavers, and to satisfy their yearn for great Scandinavian dishes. Hostfest had firmly established itself as a cornerstone of cultural celebration, entertainment, and community.
Gordy Crazy Fingers Lindquist is upstairs. Fabulous piano player. Then you'll see the girl with the violin. And then you'll see the roving accordion. Then you go in and you see the artists in there doing, like the Andy Knudsen's doing his artwork, or the rosemalling.
Chester Wrighton and Pam Davey, they've set a tone throughout the last 44 Hostfests, creating an atmosphere and creating an experience with high-class entertainers and chefs and artisans. A lot of them are from our community and within this region.
You hear things in town that people think that, the Hostfest is just for the elderly and, for rosemalling and kuba stools and those kinds of things, but it's really not. I mean, there's new music acts that they're bringing in. This isn't just, learning about knitting sweaters from the old country. This is truly a festival for everyone, and there's something that everybody can enjoy.
In an ever-growing world that highlights trends, and it's always changing, and there's always new things, sparkly things. And as cool and eye-grabbing as those things can be, to make sure that you return to these traditions that have always been here, that are always constant, and that are just as, or even more so, eye-grabbing and eye-catching and more meaningful than the quick things that our society grabs onto. I think that's at the heart for me, what I cherish the most about it.
It's a feeling of family, a feeling of home. It's a group of people that you can rely on, and you know, God made us to be in community. And there's all kinds of communities, and the Scandinavian community is a wonderful one.
We want to create an experience. It's not just going into the North Dakota State Fair Center where it's decorated like Scandinavia. You're actually walking into Oslo. You are walking into a Viking village, and you can sense the energy of the Vikings. We've talked about culture, food, music, and artisans. There are tons and tons of things that tickle every sense that someone has that comes into the festival, and I think we need to really tap into that, is showing them this is what you're going to experience, not just see or taste or whatever. It's a full-on experience.
Stay tuned as we journey further into the heart of Hostfest, exploring the cherished traditions and deep heritage that form the core of this cultural celebration. Discover how the festival honors its Scandinavian roots, passing down the legacy from generation to generation. Entertainers dazzle, craftsmen create, and the aroma of traditional dishes fills the air. But at the heart of it all lies something far more profound: the traditions. Above it all, we must remember what truly matters: our homage to Scandinavia, to the roots that ground us and the traditions we belong to. As we explore the myriad ways this heritage enriches our lives, we pay tribute to the marks it leaves on our souls, ensuring that the stories, values, and the connections to our Scandinavian roots remain vibrant and vital.
The Hostfest is important as any other historical event. You have to be aware of your past to learn into the future. So we can bring those to be the best of the traditions into your new modern life. You must focus on the values of the old things that really meant something.
I just think anybody's history is important. Just knowing where you came from, how we got here, and where we're going. It's important to remember all of our history. The new generations need to know where we came from, ultimately, and it's important to me, it's important to my family.
Who doesn't love mythology and stories about the Vikings and trolls hiding under bridges? And those are captivating stories just in and of themselves. And I love that as a festival, we're trying to vamp that up a bit more in that experience for people.
I think another thing today is you have an immediate connection. Even though you don't know each other, you have a connection because you have some of that history. Whether you're a Dane or anybody else, you're there because you are tied to something culturally. And I think that's why Chester started, "Where are you from?" Because people then can talk about where they're from. And even, in my booth that I had at the Hostfest, I had a big board that said, mark your home place. And then I had the map of Norway, and they could put little pieces up there. And I can't tell you how excited people were to be able to put a little dot. This is where I'm from. And they would get up real close. I mean, I had to bring a magnifying glass because the print was so small on the map. But they really wanted to say, this is me right there. That's where I came from.
It's part of your family. It's part of your heritage. It's fun. Traditions are fun. And they give you a sense of belonging and a sense of security because it's always there. But then again, you have to be open to things changing too.
The accumulated spirit that brings us to norms that make us proud of ourselves and make us not worry and wonder whether or not our life is valid and has a meaning, comes from heritage.
I've heard a lot of people who maybe don't identify as having Scandinavian or Nordic heritage, or maybe they do and they just don't really care. They choose not to come because they think like, how special can it be? But I think once they just give it a half a day, come to Hostfest for a half a day, they are inspired to really look into their own family and their own heritage. Even if it isn't Scandinavian, there are still similarities. I mean, there are tons of similarities beyond the Nordic borders. Tons of people just sitting down and visiting, and tons of people who are very, very hospitable and nice, just like the Norwegians. And I think that people need to just give it that bit of a chance, and they can see that this inspires them in discovering other areas of their own heritage.
Stay tuned as we shift our focus from the rich traditions to the profound impact Hostfest has on the community. We'll explore how this celebration brings people together, fostering a sense of unity and creating lasting bonds. The legacy of the restoration continues to inspire, reminding us of the power of hope and the enduring allure of the American dream. As we reach the culmination of our journey, we stand at a crossroads of reflection and celebration. Diving into the heart of Hostfest, we explore beyond the vibrant festivities to uncover its profound impact on the community and the deep resonance it holds for all who gather here. It's a celebration that transcends mere entertainment, crafting a legacy of unity, heritage, and shared human experience that echoes through the laughter, music, and stories of its participants. The Hostfest is more than an event. It's a catalyst for unity, for bringing people together from all walks of life, not only to celebrate Scandinavian heritage, but to celebrate the very concept of community itself. As we explore the stories that have shaped this festival, we're reminded of the power of coming together, of sharing our experiences, our traditions, and of the enduring legacies that such gatherings create.
This is a great space for you to discover yourself because you're not outrightly exposed. You're in a fairly big crowd all the time. So why not try to have some fun and push yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone in a really colorful way?
Community, to me, is certainly a sense of belonging, but without the sense of judgment. I run around these halls at Hostfest totally feeling like I belong and that people are really eager to get to know you and understand you and know where you're from and what you're about.
It broadens your horizon, I think. I think it makes you more understanding, makes you a more well-rounded person. We can get pretty narrow, if we only stay in the same lane.
You can take a look as you walk along the halls. Everybody's having a great time. When they're eating across from somebody, they'll start a conversation. We've had, long-range friendships that were formed, not only from people from Minot with other people from out of state, but people from different towns, realizing, they have something in common, and they may be from Williston. They knew people in Fargo, and they get a connection, and it lasts for years. Everybody who leaves the Norsk Hostfest is happy and had a great time looking forward to coming back.
I think one of the biggest things that we can encourage for festival goers is that despite a lot of the stuff that is showcased here being from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there is a relevance to it. It is a part of who we are and who our ancestors were, and a lot of the successes that they had were from the connections that they made with other people, and that has to be our goal as the Norsk Hostfest.
I will say that you should go to the Norsk Hostfest. That will give you a lifetime adventure and experience, because they focus on so much good traditional values that you have to be aware of. So we should go there just to learn a little bit about your heritage and how life was before. So I will advertise. I'm going to be an advertiser for Hostfest the rest of my life, because I think it's the most important thing I've been to.
Until you get here, you really don't get the true feel for what it is and what it means to people.
This is the cream of the crop, that what you see here. I just love our history because we got so much to discuss.
You know why it matters? For the same reason that a drop of water dropped into a quiet surface has a ripple effect. And something like Hostfest is entirely dependent upon the power of its ripple effect. And Hostfest is respected and known far and wide.
The impact of Hostfest extends far beyond its origins, touching hearts and uniting people in a celebration of heritage, entertainment, creativity, and communal joy. This festival, rooted in Scandinavian tradition, welcomes curious souls and fun seekers, young and old, anyone who desires fantastic experiences and the richness of cultural exploration. Whether you carry Scandinavian heritage in your blood or simply a curiosity, Hostfest welcomes you. It's a place where every visitor becomes part of the extended family, discovering that the true essence of the festival lies in the connections we forge and the memories we create together.